Welcome back to this week's episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, and we have the conference championships coming up in the NFL.
Yep, I'm really excited about it. It was a pretty good divisional round, so I'm hoping it can be followed up by another, pretty good round here.
We're going to talk conference championships coming up, divisional round last weekend, national championship college football last weekend, maybe some coach hirings. So that's been some news, especially today. We got some more, so yeah, let's talk about it on the other side.
We gonna make it, baby.
Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid sports.
Welcome back to this week's episode. Today we are brought to you by Sluv, as always. Go check them out on Instagram at sluv.co, that is sluv.co, or on their website at sluv.us, that is sluvus. They have a drop coming soon. If you haven't, go watch our last episode. Go watch the episode before that. We talked with them. That was fun. Shout out to Romeo if you're listening. It's your birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sluv. So yeah, let's get into it right now. Divisional round weekend. This past weekend, we were all snowed in, essentially, here in Colorado. So it was a perfect weekend to just watch football, and we got 3 good games.
Yeah. No, the only kind of bad game there was the Lions game.
And that wasn't even, terrible. It was a good
not
first
even.
half.
Yeah, but I think, a lot of the stuff that we thought was going to happen kind of happened, except for the Lions. I think my exact words are, I don't think anyone can even get close. I think we even breezed over this Lions game because we were like, there's no way. There's no possible way.
We'll first start talking about the Chiefs-Texans. Let's start with that one. That was the early game on Saturday.
Yeah.
The Chiefs do it again. I think Patrick Mahomes may be undefeated in divisional rounds in his career. I mean, that would make sense, I think. Another win, 23-14 over the Texans. Texans just didn't really look good, and the Chiefs took advantage of penalties.
Yeah, I was about to say there were some pretty bad penalties, I think, that were called personally. Even the announce team were getting pretty furious about how bad these calls were. But on the flip side, Texans offense played like garbage. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, all those flags, they led to points, which sucks, but it's like there was just no answer from the Texans offense, and it was just kind of very flat. And when you're missing your 2 top receivers, it's kind of tough to bounce back from that. And you got the Chiefs who are hot and have just recently gotten some of their guys back. So it's going to be a hard game to win for the Texans. I think it's a lot closer if they don't get some of those calls, because those calls were...
It did result in points on one of those drives.
And they were both on third downs. They were both would have, given the ball back to the Texans. That's 2 more touchdowns off the board. Who knows? But I think the Texans weren't going to win that game just because of how they were playing offensively. And so, I don't know. It's kind of tough for the Texans. But rebound, they weren't very healthy. And I think they kind of had a weird year. I think, maybe C.J. Stroud gets out of that little sophomore slump that he was in this year and kind of falls back into what he was doing. And I think we see a better Texans next year. And hopefully they can stay healthy, because I do love all of the people on that team.
I was going to say, I think, unlike other teams such as the Steelers maybe, other playoff teams, the Texans are one of them I feel like are going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Regardless, I know, like you said, C.J. Stroud kind of a slump. I expect him to get out of that next year and then be better, get obviously healthy. My only note really from this game was Travis Kelce he looked great. I mean, it's kind of like they just hit him all year.
Yeah.
Didn't really let him get hit, get banged up. Obviously, he's lost a step of athleticism, but just how smart he is of reading routes and getting in the middle of the field and then just taking off from there.
Yeah.
Yards after catch, I think he had 50 of those in the first half. I don't know how much he ended with, but he looked great. Patrick Mahomes did his thing, I guess.
Travis, I was going to say he ended with 117.
Yeah, 117. I think he's in 7 or 9 straight games with over 70 yards in the playoffs, which is insane for a tight end.
Yeah, Mahomes did lose some points for me this weekend because of some of the stuff that I did see in the game, primarily when he slowed up to try to draw the hit from the defender, knowing that it would probably end up getting him a penalty, and then a just hilariously bad flop out of bounds.
If the refs are going to call it, though, I mean, I feel like I can't even blame them. It's the same in the NBA.
That's what I'm saying. I get it, and I honestly don't even mind the flop. It's the stopping because it's just like if you stop, you deserve to get your shit rocked, even if you have like a foot out of bounds. Like that's something that I think even if they would have hit him really hard, I'm not sure they would have called it because he stopped to try to draw that. I really didn't like that. I think it's just like, obviously you got to play to the rules and how, protective they are of the quarterback. A smart player plays to that, and he is a smart player. But I didn't like it, and I really hope next year or in the following years they reduce the protections for quarterbacks. I think it's a little ridiculous how, a running back doesn't get the same protections as a quarterback does, or the defense is literally penalized for playing the game of football. Like Will Anderson's head on him. It's a little high, but it wasn't anything that in a divisional playoff game in the NFL, it's not something you should call. When he dropped down and the Texans players literally hit each other and they got 15 yards, ended up scoring like 2 plays later. Like it's hard to watch because it's like defense is doing all they can, and this is not like hard football. Like compared to what we've seen in the past, this is very light football, and that's even getting called. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like when you play football and you get to a level that you are at, I think you can put as many restrictions and safety precautions as you want, but at some point the players have to just acknowledge that what they're doing is dangerous. And I think they all know that and accept the consequences for going a little too hard sometimes. And I don't think that we should be protecting them at every single thing. Make the game as safe as possible, but don't ruin certain plays or certain games because it was a little too hard of a hit when really it's way softer than what we were seeing even 10 years ago.
Yeah, we'll see what they do next year. I know they've already kind of talked about changing some things, especially helping the defense, because that's been a huge thing, especially going into the new, I don't know when their new contract is with the Players Association, but the defense is going to want some repercussions. Did you have any notes on this game?
About that, if only they made a maneuver you could do showing that you're a quarterback and giving up on the play.
Sliding.
I think the second you cross the line of scrimmage, you're not a quarterback anymore.
I agree.
Unless you slide. And then I get the slide rule. That's why it's there. 100%. Don't hit him while he's sliding. But once you cross the line of scrimmage, you're a running back.
Yeah.
You made that decision to become a running back. I've always felt like that. It drives me crazy. Yeah. And especially because it's always him. Always him.
Yep. Him and Josh Allen gets a little bit, but he likes to run through a motherfucker's chest too.
Yeah.
So.
Josh Allen will flop a little bit, but like you just said, he will also put that shoulder down. But no, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Devil magic?
What's new? Yeah. I mean, and going into the fourth quarter, they were down a point. And then all of a sudden, 10, their highest scoring quarter all game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes speaking tongues.
He only threw for 177 and 1 touchdown, so not a great game. And, you thought he would be maybe playing for more considering half of his family was unemployed that weekend with TikTok being shut down. So, but, yeah, I mean, I expect them to be fine upcoming week. I mean, we'll talk about it in a second. But I think they'll play a little better as a team, but the Bills are going to be tough. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Commanders-Lions, second game on Saturday night. Lions, I think, projected 8.5-point favorites, which, by the way, was a huge spread for if you were watching the Chiefs game. 8.5 in that game as well. Ended up being 9, and it almost, for people that had 9.5, which was like right before the game, it changed. If you got in like right before the game, you thought they got that safety at the end. I don't even know what ended up happening with that because I just turned the game off, but I know it was a weird dynamic. But Lions going into the Commanders game, 8.5-point favorites, and the Commanders end up beating them by 14, dropping 45 points on them on the road. Jaden Daniels, man, what can you say?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just last year that we're like, it's going to be forever until we see somebody do what CJ did this year. And then it's the next year, and we're seeing it with Jaden Daniels. And
it's better.
It's unbelievable. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think you just got a hot team. Lions are banged up. I think that does hurt them. I didn't think it was going to be too much of an issue. But I think this more so came down to just the Commanders being hot right now, and they're playing their best football. They got a bunch of good stars coming up, as well as a bunch of veterans who have been to and won Super Bowls on that team. Dan Quinn's been to a Super Bowl. So it's really interesting seeing that team kind of go, because it's like the Lions put up 31. That's going to win you
games.
85% of the games you play. Like, that's going to get it done, but it just didn't matter.
That would have won against any other team scoring this weekend besides the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could have made this game winnable for the Lions is probably having Aiden Hutchinson in the game, because I feel like he's the only person who could have corralled Jaden Daniels at least a little bit.
Get to the quarterback.
Yeah, at least scare him, kind of make him move out of the pocket, do stuff that's uncomfortable. But there was just really nobody to do that. And once he gets back, I mean, obviously they'll be fine, but I think the biggest issue for the Lions right now is they've just lost both their coordinators, and
I think three of their coordinators,
and they're dealing with a good but aging quarterback. And, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and all these guys, you can't really keep them on this contract.
Not all of them.
So I think the window's still open, but it's rapidly closing on them. And I think this year, I think I heard Levitard on ESPN talking about it, saying, like, this was supposed to be the year that it got done.
Or at least get to the Super Bowl.
At least get to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, you got back-to-back years of this should have been our year, and you blow a 17-point lead in the championship last year to the 49ers. And then you blow a game in the first, divisional round. So it's rough. I think their window is closing. Still open, but closing because there's way too much star power on that team to keep everybody on it. So I think they maybe have 2 more years maybe to really make a solid push. Obviously, any team could win at any point. But to really be a contender, I think they got to do it in the next, 2.
Couple things. One, the second quarter was the highest scoring quarter of the year with 42 points combined from both of the teams. I guess 2 questions for both of you. One, I mean, we got to feel for the Lions fans, right? I mean, they've been through hell and back, and it just doesn't get better.
Yeah.
The one year they have, they win 15 games, went 15-2, and they lose to it sucks,
Yeah.
And then I guess my next question is, can the Commanders win the Super Bowl? They dropped 45 points on the Lions. I don't see a weird world where they may not beat the Eagles and upset them if Jalen Hurts just has an off game and Jaden Daniels just might do the damn thing in his rookie year.
No, yeah. To the first question real quick, just for the Lions fans, I am sorry because it's not to put salt in the wound, but it's not like you're just losing your coordinators. You're losing 2 of the best coordinators in the entire league, and that's why they're getting
2 of the highest
jobs.
sought, candidates going into this.
Literally,
this
so
change.
that's going to be hard to bounce back from. Dan Campbell, I love him. I hope he gets it done. I'm rooting for him. But to the second question, I think so. I really do think it is within the realm of possibility that the Commanders could win this game. And I honestly like this. What's the spread right now? -6. That's a good spread
for Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, at home.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. We know what the Eagles can do, and we know what they also can do, vice versa, in a bad way. If Jalen Hurts doesn't have the best game and they find a way to shut down Saquon a little bit, it's going to be really hard to stop Jane Daniels in this offense right now. I mean, they have the defense to do it, but if everything plays out right, there is definitely, and I think we texted this to each other after Washington won, that it's very, very possible that the Commanders could beat the Eagles. And that if the Rams would have won that game,
they would have beat the Eagles. Or would have beat the Rams. Yeah.
They'd be going in. So they definitely can. I don't know if they will. If you had to tell me to put my money on something, I would put it on the Eagles. But honestly, I'll stay the farthest away I can with my money on this one just because I have no idea.
Technically, Washington's playing with house money. No one expects them to win.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any answers for those questions or any thoughts?
I mean, no, I don't think I have anything to add about the Lions fan. I'll leave that alone.
Poor them.
Poor them, yeah. I'm sorry. Winning, they can make it, I think, for sure. I think the Eagles isn't within the realm of possibility, like Jackson said. I think the way the Chiefs have played all year, even though their devil black magic is coming into effect now, I think they could beat the Chiefs. The Bills, though, I think that's a way tougher game for Washington than the Chiefs is.
I agree.
But yeah, I think they could, if that's the question. There is a world definitely where the Commanders do this thing, which is absolutely insane.
Any other thoughts on this game?
No.
Mostly for Caden, real quick.
No, I think I said it last episode, though. Hey, Jane Daniels, Jane Daniels miracles.
I just think if it comes down to a one-possession game with the Eagles and the Washington Commanders have the ball,
give me the Commanders.
I don't feel good about the chances for the Eagles. And they're the favorites right now, granted, because they have the highest spread. And, DraftKings, all the sportsbooks know that the Bills and Chiefs are going to be a little lower because one of them, they have to play each other. The Eagles are pretty much getting told that, they're a touchdown away from beating the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a weird feeling that this team is just way ahead of schedule, and Jaden Daniels is he might be that good. I don't know who I was talking to with this the other night, but we know he's good. We know he's a good quarterback. He's offensive rookie of the year by far. He's looked great all year. At least he had those little slumps, in the middle of the season, but that happens. There's a chance that he wins a Super Bowl in his rookie season. That's just he might be one of them ones. He might. we might be witnessing a guy that's going to turn into a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. He might be one of them ones.
No, I agree. I'm excited to see what he does because this is a big stage. I mean, it's going to be kind of tough. I think it's like, the battle of I-95 or whatever.
Yeah, just an NFC East.
Yeah, Eagles did lose to the Commanders during the season.
They split. Yep, split during the season.
So we've seen already that they can beat them.
And it was a one-possession game in Philly last time they played. The Commanders did lose, but, I mean, it was a one-possession game.
Yeah, and like I said, you got a lot of vets, a ton of vets on that team that are very experienced in this, and a coach who knows this situation very well, which is not something that's super normal to have.
Also a coach, that offensive coordinator at one point that got his team blown up by the Eagles, and I think it was like 2019 or 2017, the year after they went to the Super Bowl, whatever year that was. So, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited for that game. NFC East too. I mean, battle of pardon my take as well. They got two Commanders and an Eagles fan. I'm excited just for the content, to be honest with you, but. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. But all this talk about the Eagles. Eagles played the Rams on Sunday afternoon, early afternoon. I think it was about 1 p.m. here in Colorado. Eagles 28, Rams 22. The game started in good weather and ended in a complete snow game.
Yep, love it.
That was awesome. It was the two Saquon long runs that he had, and it was in the first half of the game and second half of the game. It's just the field looked completely different. I think Saquon had 5 touchdowns and 400 something yards against the Rams this season in the 2 games they played them, which is insane. But go ahead. Any notes on this game?
It kind of felt, it was a good game. It was a fun game to watch, but you had the eerie feeling of just like the Eagles have this, there was a brief moment at the end of the game where you thought, oh, this could get interesting but I'd say for about 90% of that game, kind of felt like the Eagles had it. When you got the running back on the other team looking at his quarterback saying, watch this, and then he runs for 70 yards, there's really no chance that you're beating that team, to be honest with you. Because I think they knew at any point we could probably hand it off Saquon. He could probably go the length of the field on him. I think the Rams, though, they got a good future ahead of them. I think they need to maybe start here thinking about, maybe a replacement quarterback soon.
Stafford, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Stafford's good for another, maybe year or two. I think he's fine. He recently won a Super Bowl, so it's
their defense is young and good, though.
Exactly. So I think that coming up here soon, probably in the next year or two, honestly, if you wanted to do it this year, because there's probably going to be a lot of quarterbacks that fall, if you want to go ahead and pick one up and let him train under Stafford for a couple of years, and then maybe when Stafford's ready to go or ready to retire, which I would hope, or I would assume is soon, then you can throw him in there. Or you can just put the 2-time national championship walk-on legend Stetson Bennett in and let him rip the damn thing around.
No.
Hey, man, no one's ever given him a shot. You don't know.
He had alcohol problems. I was kidding.
Yeah, which, hey, how many of the greatest athletes of all times have had alcohol problems?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tom Brady has.
Probably.
LeBron, he's an alcoholic.
Yeah. He has his own Hennessy, of course.
Yeah, and he was at the Ohio State game drinking the other day.
Tiger.
Yeah, how did we miss him?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think Floyd
Joe
drinks.
Namath had to be.
John Jones.
Ric Flair.
Yeah. There's a bunch. You could probably do actors too.
Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Put him on that list right there.
No, I get what you're saying though. I totally agree with that sentiment. I think they need to look at. I think Cooper Kupp already said he doesn't know his future with the team. But other than that, I mean, their defense is young, probably one of the best defensive lines in all of football. With especially just 2 rookies, which is crazy. I think one of them ended up getting a little banged up in that game. But it came down to one possession. The Rams had a chance to win that game. And if Jalen Carter doesn't do what Jalen Carter does and just rush up the fucking middle and get a sack when you don't have a timeout and the clock's rolling, the Rams had a chance to win that game. And that's I think what they were there for. I think they went out to try to have a chance to win that game on the last possession, and that's what they did. So I know obviously they're upset about it, but if you're a Rams fan, you got to, I guess, take a step back and realize, that's probably what was supposed to happen. So, any thoughts on that game?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think it's pretty much what I assumed. I think I had them covering the Rams. I don't know. Once that snow gets going and you have Saquon Barkley on the other side, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It just becomes a rushing battle at that point, and the Rams aren't winning that one.
No,
ever.
Kyron Williams was one touchdown away from me winning $1,200, and he fumbled the ball.
Damn.
So fuck him. Most exciting game of the weekend, the one we were all looking forward to, Bills-Ravens Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. Bills 27, Ravens 25 in Buffalo. Mark Andrews,
Yeesh.
poor guy.
Yeah, no, it was bad. I mean, it was a Paul Crew-esque performance out of Mark Andrews that night.
Paul Crew.
And it was tough. Like, they just could not stop shooting themselves in the foot. And that's really all it was is, Buffalo played a pretty mistake-free game and just kind of grinded the game out. And, I mean, it didn't help them blow them out or anything, but it helped them get it done. But my honest take is, even if Mark Andrews catches that ball, they're about to kick it off to the Buffalo Bills with a minute and a half with 2 timeouts left. The Buffalo Bills are driving down the field, kicking a field goal, winning the game.
Yeah, I can see that.
I really don't think
Or
that game...
or if it goes into overtime, both teams get the ball.
Yeah, and I honestly, one team was really consistent all night, and the other could not keep the ball in their hands. I think the Buffalo Bills win that game no matter what happens on that goal line. I couldn't say that when the game was happening because I was in the home of a Baltimore Ravens fan who was shirtless because he threw his jersey out of the window. So it was a pretty rough scene.
Understandably so. No.
Yeah, honestly, I get it. Like he was pretty upset about that. But yeah, it was a good game. I really enjoyed watching it. It was just Lamar can't fumble it like that. Like, that was pathetic. I'll never understand.
Damar Hamlin, forced fumble.
Mhm.
Devon Miller picking it up and running like 40 yards.
Yep.
A couple years back in Denver, I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but he posted on his story the clip of him picking up Tom Brady's and taking it to the house.
Mhm.
A couple years ago, that shit would have been housed.
Yeah. But I think Buffalo showed what everyone wanted to see, is that they are a very calm, cool, and collected, somewhat mistake-free team. And I think when they play hot, there isn't many people who can beat them kind of in the grind.
What I heard today, which I found interesting, especially with what you just said, just playing consistent and like not blowing them out of the water, but just keeping the ball in their hands, not turning the ball over. Ryan Fitzpatrick went on part of my take literally today and said that the Bills have been playing a lot like the Chiefs this year, and not a lot of people have been noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just they're finding ways to win games, which I think obviously, they went 13-4, pretty good. But like you said, just the style of that game was a Chiefs-esque game of just don't turn the ball over, take advantage of their turnovers, and you're just going to win the possession game. You're going to win because you had possession longer or because your possessions were better. And the Ravens did have a good third quarter. It was 9-0 in the third quarter. They came back a little bit, but then went 6-6 in the fourth, and that last obviously 2 points that Mark Andrews could have caught. That was literally the difference. But I don't think you could put all the blame on him though, because Lamar Jackson had a fumble and an interception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 3 turnovers for Baltimore total.
So you can't put it all on Mark Andrews, but that's a tough look, especially when their social media team says the snow will not affect you before the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like you said, the 3 turnovers before that is really what decided that game. They don't throw those get those 3 turnovers, probably win the game. But sucks to be Mark Andrews. I was talking to Saul about it earlier, though. I think my favorite sports tradition, I wouldn't really say tradition.
Bills Mafia.
Is, whenever someone fucks up and their team wins the game, everyone just goes and donates to their charities and stuff. It's just the biggest backhanded compliment ever, pretty much. It's like, hey,
nobody
thanks.
does it better than the Buffalo Bills.
100%.
Bills Mafia is always there to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody circles the wagons like the
Buffalo Bill.
So yeah, shout at them. Any other notes on that game?
No, sad to see Lamar go out like that again, but
It sucks. I want Lamar and Josh both to win so badly, and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And there's not enough space.
no.
There's a team in the AFC every year that just like the Texans, for example.
Mhm.
The Chargers, the Broncos. There's teams that always just take either Joe Burrow's spot this year or get knocked out of the playoffs. I think Lamar Jackson got knocked off a couple years by Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's the little things like that I want both of them. I want all of them to win. And the only one that doesn't need to win is Patrick Mahomes, which is essentially one game away before this Texans game. That was kind of everybody assumed they were going to win. He literally has never lost in a divisional game before.
Yeah.
He was one game away from the Super Bowl when the playoffs started.
Yeah.
And this one game just happens to come up this weekend.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, please.
Yeah.
Please save us.
I think 2 things real quick. I think it's not funny, but interesting that they lost their first game of the season by a failed 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And they lost their final game of
to
the
the
season
Chiefs, yep.
by a 2-point conversion, one with a toe out of bounds and one dropping the ball.
Right there, too. Right in the end zone.
Yep, and that's just a rough way to start and end a season. I guess maybe was a definer of the whole thing, but
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it really does. But, Trey after the game and his distraught nature was like, what do we do as the Ravens? And I looked at him and I was like, I don't know. There's nothing more that you can do for this team except stop fucking up when you get the opportunities to win games. You can't have your 3-time MVP almost quarterback go out of the pocket, literally have the ball like this, and then just drop it. Like, he didn't even get it knocked out. It didn't even look like it slipped. It literally looked like he dropped the ball down. And it's like, you can't have that. You can't have your all-pro tight end dropping wide open balls in the middle of the field and then fumbling it like right after, and fumbling and not catching the ball on the goal line. Like, you can't have that stuff. Like, that's all the only reason you guys are not winning. It's just because when the game comes down to that crucial point, you can't get it done. And I don't know how you fix that. And I think that's just like an interior issue that they have to fix, because they have the team. I think the defense can maybe get a little bit better. But other than that, I really don't know what else they can do. So I'm really interested to see what they actually do in the offseason to try to affect that.
To your point, real quick note. I mean, if you talk about the Isaiah Likely touchdown, or could have been a two-point conversion in the very first game of the season. They say they win that game, and then they win the Raiders game like they were supposed to in the middle of the season. They're 14-3. Chiefs record at that point would be 14-3. That's a 1 seed. That's forcing Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to have to play in the divisional rather than the conference championship.
Yep.
Lamar could be sitting, the Ravens and as a whole could be sitting in a whole nother spot right now. But that's the NFL season for you. I mean, there's games that, if the Bengals didn't lose their first game of the season to the Patriots, they would have been in that 7th spot and probably not the Broncos. And who knows what Joe Burrow, it might be Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes right now in the AFC Championship. Yeah. Nobody knows. So that's the best part about the NFL, and also the worst part. So and it sucks that the Ravens fans just, they have to wait another, 11 months to figure out what their fate's going to be again. So, it sucks for them. We already talked Eagles Commanders, so let's talk Chiefs Bills. It feels like this is the matchup we're destined for every year, it seems like, kind of, in the AFC Championship. And it's always in Arrowhead. It never seems to be in Buffalo. Here we are again. What is it, 4 days away? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 4 days away from another matchup of just the AFC Invitational. And I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited.
No, I am excited too.
I'm going to be mad probably, but I'm excited. I want Josh Allen to do it so badly.
And
I don't even hate the Chiefs.
No, that's
I just
my
like
thing.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, no, I do think he is going to get it done this time. I think there is a messy, bad aura surrounding the Chiefs. An aura doesn't win football games, obviously.
It's
But
the devil.
What's this aura's name?
Lucifer.
Taylor Swift.
exactly.
Jackson Mahomes, Taylor Swift.
Satan himself.
But
I can't believe Caitlin Clark was there. This is a Caitlin Clark podcast.
I know that hurt my heart when I saw her in that booth, dude. But she's been a fan her whole life, so I'll give her some slack. That's okay.
She was just
she was there during the not so great years of the Chiefs. So.
She was in Taylor Swift's box.
Crazy. But anyway, there's a definite weird aura about the Chiefs, and it's just messy and weird. And then you got the Bills, who are very composed and seem very normal and on the level, and they're fighting hard because they do play a Chiefs style game. But I think the difference where you see it is at the end, where the Bills are squeaking out those close lost games by getting that touchdown they need or fighting through it and getting it done. Whereas when you look at the Chiefs, it's well, they got this penalty on 3rd down that would have made it 3rd or 4th and 20. They would have had to punt. And then the next second, Mahomes is throwing a ball completely lateral to the ground to a wide open Travis Kelce, who I'm almost certain at this point has a spell bubble around him because he's the most confusing athlete I have ever seen in my life. Just normal route running, to be honest with you, and then just sits down and nobody gives a fuck. Everyone just vacates the area. Every time he catches a ball, it's on an 8-yard hitch route, and there isn't a defender within 7 yards of him. And I'm I feel like if you just watched Kelce and just had one corner or safety follow him, he wouldn't be as effective, but nobody does that, I guess. Obviously, I guarantee you it's more intricate than that.
Yeah, they've been running the 2 safeties against Pat Mahomes, but I get what you're saying.
No, yeah, I'm not an
somebody
guru,
has to be
but
around.
It's there has to be somebody who can cover him because it's not like he's scorching people on routes. But yeah, I think it's just everything kind of folds into the Kansas City aura weird, and like that's how they're winning their games, like block kick, bad call, like everything's kind of working out for them. And like I've said in previous episodes, they'd still be like 13 and like 4 if they didn't get those calls and such. But I think there's just a weird, I don't know, unsustainable brand of ball is kind of how I've been labeling them all year. And I think the Bills play a very consistent, mistake-free brand of ball. And I think the biggest thing to beating the Chiefs is stopping their defense, because I really think that is the biggest part of their team that ends everybody. Because if the Texans could have played better on offense, they hold the ball for longer, and they were doing pretty good on defense versus the Chiefs. But they weren't able to ever get anything going offensively, so they weren't able to win the game. And I think if the Bills can hold guys like Chris Jones to normal, below-average games, I think they can win this game, and I think that Josh Allen can finally will the Bills to beat them.
Josh Allen fought for this overtime rule a couple of years ago.
He did.
To literally because of playing the Chiefs to get a second chance in the playoffs. It might come in handy this time. What's your keys to the game?
Josh Allen. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pause.
As long as Patrick Mahomes plays like I feel like he has been all year, I don't know, but that their voodoo scares me. -2. I mean, they're -2.
It might be -2 degrees there.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I agree with Jackson. I'd like to say the Bills are going to win this. I really believe they do. I don't know if that's bias in me, but Josh Allen goes out there and plays, and if they just both play the same brand of football, like Jackson said, they've been playing all year, the Bills win this game, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They've already played this year, and the Bills did win. It was in Buffalo, though, which does suck.
Yeah, but I mean, it is nice that the Bills are the team that are going to Arrowhead because they're so acclimated to that.
They're fine with the cold weather.
That's not going to mess them up either. But I mean, like, you look at the Chiefs, like you've got the Bills who have, really had like a warm-up game versus the Broncos. No offense, but they kind of warmed up with them, and then they had a grind show with the Ravens, and they barely fought through that to get that win. They're experienced and they're not broken down, whereas then the Chiefs have played a half-injured Texans team who kind of came into the playoffs pretty cold, and they were able to kind of just go through them, but it wasn't a super easy game for them. I think the Bills are more ready for this game. I think that only gives you a little bit of a boost throughout the game, but I do think that the Bills are more prepared for this game. And, like, obviously, not a huge fan of the Chiefs. I don't hate them. They've never done anything to me personally, so until they beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl, I don't see that there's going to be an issue. So there's never going to be an issue. So I don't know. I just don't think they play a sustainable brand of ball, and I think that the Bills are too consistent, and I think they're going to finally get over that hump. So non-biasly, no hatred towards them. I just think that the Bills are a better team, and if they play to their best, I don't see how they don't beat the Chiefs.
Two things. One, it will be 32 degrees game time, so probably that's good weather for them. I don't know what the wind chill will make it feel like or whatever, but 32 game time. And then also just a funny thing I just stumbled upon. Each in their last 5 games, they're 4-1. Chiefs losing to the Broncos, Bills losing to the Patriots. We're seeing the new AFC matchups, and then they beat the old AFC conference matchups of the Broncos, Patriots for those few years. So kind of just a weird thing I found. But I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. Sadly, I don't want to. I want to pick the Bills very badly. Like my heart, like we talk about this all the time. My heart is it's with the Bills. I want the Bills to win. I don't know. I think the Bills are better. I think Josh Allen's played better all season. I think their defense is good. I think Sean McDermott makes weird comments, but he's a good coach.
Yeah.
Their offensive coordinator, I forget his name. Oh, shit, I just saw his name earlier. Joe something or something like that. He's been great. He's going to be probably up for a couple of head coaching jobs if they get bounced out this week. But Joe Brady, that's his name. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs, sadly, but I want the Bills. So go Buffalo. I hope Buffalo wins. So hopefully that's the case. Also, real quick, I just found this interesting today too. If the Lions didn't lose this week, there's no guarantee that one, I guess this coaching process of other teams hiring coaches doesn't go quicker because obviously those two were like the most coveted guys on the market. it's like good for like the Commanders,
Yeah.
the Bills. Like they're not especially if they both make it to the Super Bowl, their coaches aren't going to, or their offensive coordinators aren't going to get sniped.
Mm-hmm.
That means another year of Cliff Kingsbury in Washington, Joe Brady probably in Buffalo.
Yep.
Like that's just a weird like dynamic that I saw, that if the Lions maybe made it to a Super Bowl, there's no guarantee maybe like Aaron Glenn leaves, because maybe those spots are already filled, and they just that was Ben Johnson's whole thing last year. He wasn't taking interviews with just random teams. He didn't take an interview with the Jets this year.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's the Jets. Fuck the Jets. But, yeah, so I'm excited for this weekend. Enjoy it. It's 3 more football games the whole season, these 2, and then we have to wait till February 9th for the Super Bowl. But, yeah, I'm excited. So, any last notes on that? And then we'll talk just quickly coaching hires.
Yeah, I mean, I just want everybody to know how close we are to a Bills-Commanders Super Bowl.
I would love that.
And how beautiful that is. But also,
as long as the Eagles don't win, I don't care.
How close we are to a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. And I don't know what I just thought of this today. I don't know if there's a statistical anomaly, if this has ever happened before, really. But for the 4th time in 6 years, we will have repeat matchups. We've had the 49ers Chiefs twice, and then if it's Eagles Chiefs, that will be the 2nd time they played in the last 6 Super Bowls.
And it was only Tampa Chiefs.
I will jump off the top of this apartment building. If it honestly, I was talking today.
This is a studio.
Okay. But anyway, I was talking at work with one of my managers, and I was like, I want to get out of work before the Super Bowl starts because I get in there in the morning. And then they were like, all right, cool. And I was like, yeah. Wait, if the Chiefs and Eagles go, I'll work at double. I don't want to watch it. Like, but it would be the best possible game. I think the Bills would be a better game in the Super Bowl, but it would be a good game. I think it would be 2 really talented teams that I do think the Eagles would beat them. But honestly, at that point, who knows? You know, Josh Allen, like, I don't know, maybe steps in a gopher hole and goes into Toontown or whatever, you know, plays around with the Looney Tunes for 30 hours, and then they lose that game. But who knows what can happen. But I just want to let everyone know how close we are to a Bills-Commanders Super Bowl.
Buffalo Bills, I would love that one because Buffalo Bills have never won a Super Bowl. Washington Commanders, Washington Redskins have not won a Super Bowl since 1992. Anybody want to take a guess against who?
The Buffalo Bills?
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, was that in that 4-year stretch where they went 4 times in a row and lost every single one of them?
So we could be seeing another repeat of history of something that we weren't alive for. So Buffalo Bills 37, or the Redskins beat the Bills 34-27 on January 26, 1992. Crazy. We could be seeing that, or we could be seeing a Chiefs Eagles. Which in that case, I'm sorry for everybody that hates the Chiefs. I have to hate the Eagles. So
or anybody who just generally loves football.
I hope the Eagles lose by 60 on this Sunday. I hope their whole team doesn't make it to the game. I'm not going to say how. I just hope they don't make it to the game.
Just get lost.
Yeah, get Bermuda Triangle or something, you know.
But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the Chiefs Eagles, it's Ohio State Notre Dame. I mean, how interested were you to watch that game? I mean,
I didn't care. I just wanted to kill Christian, essentially. So
Jeremiah freaking Smith.
Oh, Jeremiah freaking Smith. I forgot about that. All right, only 3 coaches have been hired so far, so let's talk about them real quick. Mike Vrabel to the Patriots. Honestly, I think this will be pretty quick. I love Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a perfect fit there, and then getting Josh McDaniels in there, and then I think his special teams or defensive coordinator, some guy he's already been with or something like that, so they're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think there was almost like a little experiment this year with kind of like locker room hires with like people that guys liked.
Gerard Mayo.
Yeah, Gerard Mayo and Antonio Pierce. Like those are guys that the players really liked. They just weren't good enough as coaches to really get it done.
Trump got back into office. They said, let's get these black coaches out of here.
But I think they're kind of going back to, all right, well, let's get some proven guys like Aaron Glenn. Let's bring him to New York. You know, Vrabel, let's bring him to the Patriots. Ben Johnson, let's get you on the Bears. Like just kind of spreading these guys out, trying to actually find these good talents and try to kind of get them mixed in there.
Any thoughts on Mike Vrabel to the Patriots? I mean, it might just be another start to I'm not going to say dynasty because that's there's no repeating kind of what they did, but maybe a talented Patriots team in the future.
I hope not. I don't like them.
Yeah,
but,
neither do I.
I mean, good for them. I mean, yeah, it'd be a good fit. I mean, he actually has a real job now instead of
just doing whatever with the Browns.
He said player's friend.
Yeah, that's literally.
It's like, what was it, consultant? I think he said player and staff consultant. It's crazy.
Showed up. That was like a $5 million check too.
It's crazy.
That's stupid.
Showed up. He's like, hey, you need talking about anything?
Yes.
No.
Sean Watson sucks. All right, good talk. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Right.
Ben Johnson to the Bears. Bears might be back. I mean, I think they're going to be a hilarious team to watch for like the first 3 games of the season because they're going to be trying some of this shit and it's going to look so crazy. Like they're going to be trying some of these trick plays and they're just not going to have the hang of it yet. I feel like long term they'll be good. I know why Ben Johnson went there because he seized talent in Caleb Williams and that roster and just the market of Chicago in general, which has been dying for a team to be good again.
Yeah.
I think Ben Johnson's the right direction, and I think he'll be better than Eberflus because, I mean, the standards aren't that low, high. But
yeah, I think any citizen in all of Chicago with a beating pulse could have been better than Eberflus, if you want me to be honest.
Especially in late game situations.
Yeah, no, I will never understand when they were flooding the whole team out and bringing everybody new in, fixing everything. They didn't fire the coach who was obviously not good. Yeah. And they were like, everyone else is the problem.
Well, he got a haircut and everybody's like, oh, it's a whole new person.
Yeah, okay, you got this. But no, he proved that he didn't, the first ever Chicago coach to get fired in season.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Ben Johnson's a really good pull. He's literally probably the best possible candidate in the whole entire pickup. Vrabel's close, but I really do think Ben Johnson is one of the better ones to bring in. And I'm excited to see what he does because, like you said, that's a very loaded type of team that they have over there with a few cute.
They just need no line.
That's all it is. I was about to say. They just need a few key positions, and then they're good.
O-line are probably like secondary.
Yeah.
Because we saw what Tyree Stevenson did against the Commanders this year.
But, yeah, no, I think they're in really good hands with Ben Johnson. I think he's going to. He's kind of like, it's just like a big thing of clay, and he's going to be able to kind of form that team kind of however he wants it, because I'm sure the owner's like, this is your team, do whatever the hell you want with it. We need to win now. Like, I don't care what you got to do.
The McCaskies are idiots, but their owners are honestly like the worst. But they, I think, finally realized that you have to pay a coach a certain amount of money if you want him to come there.
Yep.
McCaskey probably got handed the check today and was like, can you sign this? And he wrote 1.4, and their GM Kevin Warren, I think he was like, probably move that dot over. Like it's 14 million. He's like, what are we paying these guys nowadays? I think Jerry Jones is wondering the same thing because that's why we haven't seen him hire one of his friends yet. Yeah. Any thoughts on Ben Johnson going to the Bears?
He's going to
bear down.
Him and Caleb Williams is going to be very fun to watch. I think once they start clicking and figuring things out. Like you said, the first few games are definitely going to be interesting, and
it's going to look so funny.
Yeah, I mean, the first few games they could honestly just come out looking funny but insane with Ben Johnson, but we'll see.
It's division rival too. He gets to go play the Lions 2 times a year, Packers again. He knows the division, so maybe a good internal hire kind of over there. Last one, Aaron Glenn to the Jets today. Actually, the Lions defense is obviously good when they're healthy. They did allow a lot of points, late in the season. Obviously, they just allowed 45 to Washington, but they had, so how many guys on IR? I think it was 16. I think like 11 of them were on defense. So I think he'll be fine, but it is the Jets. So, I mean, he's going straight into that New York media. Second things aren't going right. They're going to blame him. Yep. Hopefully he can withstand that until maybe they get another quarterback that's not named Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I feel like they will. I feel like he's going to kind of get it in line a little bit and try to like kind of bring everybody together a little bit more. That Jets team just felt so off last year, like divided almost in a way. Aaron Rodgers, he's done. Like, I really do think that we're never going to see.
Was that a threat?
Yeah, I'm coming for you. But I don't know if we'll ever see that version of him even somewhat. Like, you get dashes of it through some games, but, like, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, I don't think. I think that time's kind of passed. So I would use this time to kind of build a foundation to move forward, kind of like what the Commanders did, where they were like, we're going to get X amount of rookies and young guys, but we're also going to influx some like real veterans who like have been to a Super Bowl, have been on deep playoff runs, and kind of understand what it's like. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be that guy, but he could give less of a fuck about being that guy, and I don't think he really...
he doesn't want to be.
I can't imagine any of those guys, maybe besides Devontae, like wanting to really play for him. Not that they hate him or anything, but like I just have a hard time seeing them be like, that's my quarterback. I'll put my body on the line for him. Like, I don't really see that type of tenacity out of the Jets. I think they just need somebody to fight for, and I think that Aaron Glenn might be that guy.
Go get Russell Wilson.
Mr. Unlimited.
Real quick, let's play a quick game. I think I saw this tweet earlier. Maybe you guys saw it too already. But 6 head coaches in the NFL are coaching for a team they formerly played for.
Mm-hmm.
Can we name all 6?
Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel.
Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Chargers. I just had one in my head. D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah,
Texans.
I like head coaching.
Head coaching.
Okay.
There's 6 I think I saw. I can't find the tweet right now, so I'm trying to think if we can think of it on the spot. Dan Campbell.
Yep.
Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Is there one more?
There's one more, I believe. It could have been 5, so we might just be here for like 10 minutes just looking stupid. But I thought it was 6. Hold on 1 second. Let me just look up the teams. I'm sure I'll figure it out in like 2 seconds. No, that's not it. Well, I need you guys thinking too. We're right here.
Trying.
We're right here. We've made it this far, guys.
Just start naming teams. Naming coaches.
Maybe it was only 5. Sean Payton definitely didn't play for fucking football. Dallas doesn't have one. Minnesota, Green Bay. Nope, definitely not. Maybe it was Tampa. But Todd Bowles is so old. Maybe it was him, but I don't think it was. Did Raheem Morris ever play in the NFL?
Raheem Morris?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I feel like he did.
He might have, but
Who's Seattle's head coach? No, he's not it either. Arizona's not. San Fran. Maybe it was only 5. Maybe we would have just been sitting here for like 10 minutes. So, yeah, I don't think. Maybe it was 5. Who knows? Maybe it was 6. I don't know. If anybody has the numbers, just put it in the comments or something.
No, he never played football.
Who?
Todd Bowles.
Bowles.
All right, Raheem Morris. Sorry.
Oh, Raheem Morris. Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't strike me for a guy that would play football. I don't know why.
yeah.
And then I guess the last thing I saw was Robert Saleh is going to interview with the Jaguars, I think, tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. And then the Raiders hired for their GM spot the assistant GM from Tampa, who Tom Brady played his last years for.
Yep.
Kind of ironic, kind of weird.
Yep.
Todd Bowles was a player.
Did he play for the Buccaneers?
No. He played for Redskins, 49ers, Redskins.
Our words, huh?
He's just throwing those.
They're just
Hey,
throwing those around now.
They want it back.
We want it back, too.
We want it back.
Everyone wants it
I
back.
want
It's
the
not
merch back.
That'll be the only bad part about Washington winning it is that we have to like.
I think they're going to get their
Commanders.
logo back, but they're going to have to keep the Commanders'
he
name.
beat the Broncos in a Super Bowl. I hate them.
Oh, yeah. Was it with the Redskins, too?
The 49ers.
Oh, it was the 49ers.
When they killed us.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk national championship on the other side. Jackson's going to tell you about Verb Energy bars during the break, and then we'll see you on the other side.
Verb Energy bars give you that extra boost that you need in the morning. They have an assortment of different types of bars, whether it's from caffeinated bars for the morning, as well as protein bars, whether in the morning or after your workouts. My personal favorite right now is the chocolate chip banana bread. It's awesome. Helps me get through the day, through the podcast, also through the work throughout the week. So right now, if you go onto their website, use code ROCKSOLID, you can get 30% off your next order. Verb Energy is the best way to start your day. Go check them out.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the show. We're going to keep this short and simple. Ohio State versus Notre Dame national championship was 2 days ago, and Ryan Day saved his job.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think what he did, I think he saved his job when he beat Oregon. I think that was kind of it.
Saved his job for a year when they beat Oregon. He saved his job for a significant amount of years winning the national championship.
Yeah, I think by winning this national championship, he's probably going to work. He's probably going to coach there for as long as he wants. I don't think they'll ever get rid of him now because it's really hard to look at a coach in the eyes who's been giving you nonstop winning records for years and has finally given you a national championship, so he proves he can do it. It's kind of hard to get rid of him.
Especially in the first 12-team playoff where it was the hardest one probably to go through.
Oh, yeah, and they started
especially from their route.
The first round all the way through. So shout out to Notre Dame. They did the best they could, but there was no stopping. I don't think there's a single team on this entire bracket that could have beat Ohio State. I don't think there's any chance, really. I think Ohio State was too hot. I think they might have pulled off a little bit too early against Notre Dame, and that's why that game got a little tighter near the end. I think they kind of were like, oh, we got this, and then kind of like pulled off really hard. And I think that's when Notre Dame started kind of clawing back at them. But I think they were just inevitable. I don't think they were going to get beat. I think as soon as we saw what they did to Tennessee, everyone got a little bit more tense. And then when they followed it up with the Oregon game, I think every single person was like, there's no real way that they're not making it and winning the whole damn thing. Jeremiah freaking Smith. Was it Love? Is it Jeremiah Love's the running back
for Notre Dame.
Jeremiah freaking Smith is the receiver for Ohio State, by the words of Christian, yelling in a yard house full of people who don't care about Ohio State football. Gotta love the dedication there. But
it was brutal.
I think it was Judkins, the longest run in championship game history. So that was interesting. But I think at the end of the day, Ohio State was just a much better team, and I think it showed. I think the Irish's luck kind of ran out. But yeah, no, my curse isn't a thing anymore, which is nice. Don't got to worry about that hanging over me for the rest of my life. So yeah, I think it's a really simple game to kind of break down because Ohio State was just better than they were. Like
Notre Dame had that first good drive, but it's not going to be sustainable when Riley Leonard, their quarterback, runs 9 times on the first drive.
Yeah.
They do score a touchdown, but you're not going to run 9 times with your quarterback on every drive. That's just not a sustainable thing, especially against Ohio State's front line on defense. And then, Ohio State kind of just dominated most of the game. Notre Dame tried to make it interesting late in the fourth, and then they blitzed on third down, and Jeremiah Smith ended up wide open. And Christian was still questioning if the game was over or not.
Yep.
It was over the second that ball went into the air, and it was intended to Jeremiah Smith. That's exactly when the game ended.
Mm-hmm.
They kicked a field goal, I think, gave Notre Dame the ball back with 0 timeouts. And even if they missed the field goal, even if they went for a touchdown, didn't get it, gave the ball back to Notre Dame. There was 30 seconds, no timeouts. Promise you, Notre Dame was not going to go down the field and in that time and score a touchdown, and I think maybe had to go for 2 as well. That was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and anybody that watched Notre Dame all year will tell you that,
Yeah.
or just watched one game of Notre Dame would have told you that.
Even that good drive they had at the end, near the end of the game, to get them to 23 points, that was a pretty efficient, quick drive. It still was probably like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
They are not a very break you down really fast and score. Like that's what Ohio State does. That's not what Notre Dame does.
Notre Dame's catchphrase is literally four quarters of fuck you football.
Yeah.
Not 30 seconds of quick football. So, I mean, it was Ohio State was always going to win that game. They were favored by 8.5, I think, or 9.5, and they ended up covering that as well. So, yeah, not really much to say. I'll give credit to Marcus Freeman. I think he coached a great game. I mean, they were one blitz away from at least getting a chance with like a minute 30 and I think or minute 20 and 1 timeout or 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
That obviously didn't happen, but Marcus Freeman set him up with a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hate always coming back to the conference thing. But I think, honestly, in moments like this, I think it hurts them too, because I don't think they're able throughout the season to really find out who they are, because they have such a kind of an easy road to the playoffs. They have usually maybe 1-2 hard games maximum, and they aren't really able to have too much trial and tribulation to really figure out who they are. The last time that happened was week 2. And then they made one change and then kind of just kept winning and winning and winning. Penn State was just kind of like, just a mental error, kind of lost in that game. Georgia didn't have their guy at quarterback. Now, I don't know if it would have mattered. They just weren't ready to play that game. That was a very losable game for Georgia. And I think Ohio State was just kind of has been through that. I'll stand on the business of, I think if Ohio State wins that game against Michigan, I'm not entirely sure that they win the national championship. I think that game was pivotal for them winning the national championship. But Notre Dame didn't have a game like that. They didn't have a game super late in the season that really scared them and kind of pushed them to the point where they're like, all right, this is what we need to work on moving forward. They kind of were just coasting on like, I think if we just keep playing mistake-free football, we can keep winning. But that's not what you do against Ohio State. Mistake-free football is not going to win you the game against Ohio State. Scoring will. And I think that was the biggest problem is they were like, well, it's worked all playoffs, so we can just run Riley Leonard into the ground for 200 yards and end up winning the game because the other team's going to mess up eventually. Ohio State's not going to mess up. They really didn't throughout the entire playoffs. That was kind of their whole thing because they were kind of doing what Notre Dame was doing in terms of like pretty mistake-free football, but they were matching it with 40 points scored in
beating
a
shit
game.
out of teams.
So I think that really led into it. So, yeah, I really do think that if Ohio State wins that game against the Michigan Wolverines, I really am not sure they go on to win it all. I think that was very huge in them winning the national championship this year. And I think Notre Dame just didn't have the opportunity to do that because they don't play hard enough teams. And I think there wasn't enough times during the season to really break the mold and try to figure out what to do, because like it's hard to learn who you are when you're winning in a matter of speaking, because you don't know what's out there that you could still work on, because it's kind of hard to tell what our faults are because we've been playing Army and Navy and Florida State and Louisville for the past
Stanford
and USC for the past 8 weeks, and we're kind of cruising through everybody. We don't know what our weakness is, and that's kind of a problem. You need to know what your weak spot is, and I think the only time they got those things tested was week 1, week 2. So I think just moving forward, they just need to start really thinking about like, all right, we may be winning a bunch, but we got to figure out what our weaknesses are.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I think Jackson pretty much summed it up. Like you said, simple game. Ohio State was just out there kicking ass. But great season for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Great first year of the 12-team playoff, I think. It was a success, if you ask me. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I think the only thing about the 12-team playoff is we have to push back. We have to. It has to end quicker because there was no like really hype for this game. It was all being overshadowed by the NFL and everything else going on right now, especially in the world inauguration being this weekend. It was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that they may have to look into changing, moving like. I mean, there was a week in between bowl game or conference championships, and then it was a break, and then the playoffs started. I think they might just have to go straight into it.
That would have been genius if they waited one, or I guess that would have been way too long. Or no, waited till this weekend
for the Pro Bowl. Or no,
yeah,
no, because this is conference championship. Yeah, but that's just too long.
That's what I'm saying. That's way too long. But it's the week or the 2 weeks or whatever in between, or the week in between those games would be the perfect week for the national championship.
Yeah,
I think you maybe look into just doing it either wild card weekend or the weekend week 18 of the NFL. Like, I don't know how they'll do that. That might either shut out conference championship games, which I know they don't want to do, or just push the season up, a week quicker and then like cut that week and a half.
Week 0.
Yeah, get rid of week 0, make it week 1, and then cut that week out of between the championship games and the college football playoff games.
Yeah, I think all those points are on the nose, but I think also one thing that has to go into account is it was Ohio State versus Notre Dame. I don't think too many people cared. Yeah. It wasn't that flashy of a matchup. Like, I think if this was like Texas Penn State, I think it would have drawn a lot more eyes, because it was two teams that like, oh, this is Texas' first year in the SEC, and they're about to go to the national championship. Maybe they win. And then you got Penn State. Oh, they've never been able to break through the mold. They finally did it, and they're in there. And now we get to see these two teams with so much on the line fight against each other. It was Ohio State's 10 times better of a team than Notre Dame. Everyone knew what the outcome was going to be. There's really no –
just had to watch the game.
You just kind of had to look and like make sure that happened. But it was no like intrigue, because nobody really likes Notre Dame.
Except for like one whole portion of the U.S.
Yeah, and then like nobody really cares for Ohio State either. Like,
except for one city in the U.S.
Exactly. Like, that is the whole.
Like,
I saw the
the one CSU fan, the one CU fan.
The graphic before this game. It was like who you rooting for, who's America rooting for, and it was Indiana rooting for Notre Dame and Ohio rooting for Ohio State, and then the rest of the entire country just said Meteor, just to strike the game. But I think that's. A big part of it is what you guys said, but I think a bigger part of it is also wasn't that flashy of a matchup. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people knew it was going to happen, and exactly what everyone thought would happen did happen. And I think it was just kind of uninteresting to some people, which is, it happens. It's going to happen. It happens in the NFL. It's going to happen in college football. It happens a lot more than you would like to see it, but that makes the Penn State Texas games bigger. The Bills Commanders games bigger is when it is different, and it is a spectacle of two great teams that you don't usually see here going at it.
Couple notes. One, the Notre Dame defensive coordinator did leave to go back to the Cincinnati Bengals after they fired Lou Anarumo, which is now the Colts defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He was really good. Don't know why they fired him, so I'll take him over in Indy. But yeah, the Notre Dame, they lose him, so who knows what will happen down the future. For like the 3 Ohio State fans that do listen to this, I don't know if they've made it this far, but if you have, either comment or text me, whatever, let me know. Would you if I gave you a deal to win a national championship every 3 to 4 seasons, but you had to consistently lose to Michigan every year, would you take it? Because I just want to know like how gratifying this feels. I mean, you win a national championship, but you know what Michigan's going to say Michigan fans are going to say every time this gets brought up. Every player on this national championship team never beat Michigan. So like, I don't know. I'm just interested, unless it was on a different team. But I'm interested to know that answer.
From my point of view, if it were roles reversed and you gave the same option to me as a Georgia fan, I would lose to Florida and Georgia Tech every single year if it meant that we were going to get a national championship every couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know because I hate Oklahoma, so I don't know if I take that deal, but like it's there.
Yeah.
And Ohio State did it, which I want to know if like that's from an Ohio State fan how it feels because I haven't felt that as a Texas fan.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess real quick, do you guys want to guess? Unless you've already looked at the article, which I know you may have, the way too early ESPN top 10 rankings going into next year.
I'm pretty
Do you
sure
wanna-
I saw Georgia pretty high.
Do you want to guess number 1?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Number 2,
Georgia.
Oregon.
Texas. Hook 'em, bitch. 3,
Georgia.
Oregon.
Penn State. 4,
Georgia.
Fucking go Oregon. Oregon.
Notre Dame.
No fucking way.
5.
Georgia.
Should I just keep going?
Sure.
Oregon.
Georgia. 6.
Oregon.
You can't switch up
I'm
now.
switching now. Oh, fuck Oregon. They're not gonna do shit. They fucking suck. I don't care. I don't like this game.
This is Oregon. At 6. 7.
They're not gonna be 6.
7 ACC.
13.
An ACC team.
Mm-hmm.
SMU.
Clemson Tigers.
Go for it.
Yeah.
8.
You guys got this.
The other Tigers. LSU. 9. BYU Cougars. Hunter, if you're listening, you guys are number 9. According to ESPN, so this means absolutely nothing. And then 10, rounding out South Carolina Gamecocks. And then it keeps going. Any notable teams? Alabama's at 12. I think that's funny. Indiana not even in the top 16. They're number 17. And then, a couple SEC teams get thrown in there. Michigan at 21. Miami Hurricanes at 23. Boise State at 24, even without Ashton Genty. And they didn't add a 25. Oh, Ole Miss. Poor Lane Kiffin, man.
Yeesh.
Hopefully can try to get those college girls,
Yeah. Or Sidney Thomas, apparently.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But yeah, so I'm excited for next season. I am glad to get a break from college football. I'm looking forward to enjoying, obviously, the rest of the NHL and NBA, but I am so excited for baseball to start again.
Yeah.
I was just realizing last night that I want baseball back on just for the middle of the day. It's like, it's a Wednesday, and I, like, for some reason may have a half day at work or I'm doing nothing at work.
Mm-hmm.
That's when baseball's on. So, any last thoughts on college football before we get out of here?
I'm excited to see what some teams do in the offseason. Georgia's already made some pretty good improvements to the wide receiver core and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what they do. Also with other teams and like see how, Texas kind of evolves as well, because they got their experiment in of like what's the SEC really like and like how's that going. They're set up with another pretty easy SEC schedule next year, so that's another good opportunity for them.
We do play Ohio State week 1.
That is big. But I think it's one of those things where I think it's interesting to see how they'll adjust now that they've kind of felt that. Like I said, they have another kind of easier SEC. That will change eventually now that there's no like conferences or divisions like that. So that will change, but it is nice for Texas to be able to kind of slowly get into the SEC, and if they can make the right changes, they'll be right back in this position next year. And I'm interested to see what they do, having had that experience of getting all the way to the semifinals, which is more than a lot of teams played. So interested to see what they do.
2 years in a row.
And then to see if Ohio State is the same Ohio State coming in next year, because I don't think Will Howard's going to be there.
Jeremiah Smith will.
Mika Buka won't. He's going into the draft, I'm pretty sure.
Travion Henderson, I think, will be there still.
Yeah, I think Quinshawn's going to the draft. He might still be there. I'm not 100% sure, but
Jack Sawyer will hopefully be off the earth.
yeah, he'll be in Detroit. But
Yeah, I hope. Never mind. I hope on 8 Mile doing crack.
oh God. But yeah, I'm interested to see how these teams come out next year and kind of recap their season beforehand and keep going. Like, is Oregon going to be anywhere near as good as last year?
Especially without Dylan Gabriel, probably. Who knows?
So interested to see that.
Shador. Will he be a Cowboy? Who knows? Any last thoughts on college football or any other news you may have heard? Jokic.
No, I don't think so. I got nothing.
I have one thing, and it's just what I just said.
Mm.
Jokic. We won't stay on it for too long, but it's awesome. It's awesome what he's doing. It's hilarious. The rest of the league, in the NBA. We're going to start talking about the NBA again. I mean, it's coming up in a few weeks after the Super Bowl. I think we'll probably have like 2 more football episodes. Nikola Jokic is just go look it up. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
They try to say Shea might be MVP, this person might be MVP, but it's always Jokic. So, and then real quick, if I can get this guy up here, we have a new addition to the podcast as well. I don't know if you guys can see his face if you're looking.
See the back
Turn
of his
around.
head.
See the back of his head. Turn around. Look at the camera. This is Gus. Gus is blinked out, a new addition to the Rock Solid family. So, wish Gus a welcome.
Yeah.
So, if you aren't already, go follow on all the socials above Jackson's Head. Links are also in the bio if you're listening to it on a podcast. Share it. Tell a friend. Be a friend.
Mhm.
And yeah, we'll see you next week. Tell somebody you love them. You just make their day. Peace.
Peace.